Good morning, App Properties. It's Monday, April 6th, and we're back again. I'm Amy Corr, and I'm here with Kevin Van Eck, who is live from our Goose Island office for another episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning. Happy Monday, Amy. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully you had a good weekend. We had some sun, and hopefully everyone was safe, but got to walk around a little bit. Today we have a good topic. We're going to recap the PPP and unemployment just a bit. We know there's information coming out consistently. Mike's been doing an amazing job of keeping everyone up to date on all the changes in emails, but we do want to recap that to make it easier to understand. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about landlords, because we know there's some rules in place that make it more difficult for landlords, and also with rent being due and tenants potentially unemployed. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to wrap up again with what agents should be doing now, what we can be doing now to come out of this stronger, to actually come out post-pandemic more strongly than we went into it. So, Amy, we have a couple of special guests today, right?
We sure do. I'm excited to have Thaddeus Wong and Mike Golden back with us today.
Hey, Mike.
Head into our...
I don't know, when's the last time we were called special guests? I guess you're special.
You're always special to us. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me feel great. Not true, but it makes me feel great.
Well, we are heading into, I think, our third week of shelter in place. It's the first full week of April, and we just wanted to, check back in with you guys, and just as to Kevin's point, talk about, kind of where we're at with things. So the first thing that we wanted to touch base on is, Mike, I think you can maybe help us out with this, but what's the latest on unemployment, particularly for the states that are impacting our agents: Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Michigan?
Well, for all four of those states, and perhaps probably all states in the country right now, the unemployment insurance, the state unemployment insurance bureaus or whatever, are just not ready to take unemployment claims for independent contractors. If you go on the websites, they all have various disclaimers or pop-ups, but they're basically all saying you're going to have to wait potentially until mid to late April before the systems are ready, but you will be retroactively paid back until at least April 1st, which is when the federal stimulus package kicked in. So we are going to continue to watch it. Our attorneys are tracking all of our states to understand when they're going to open up. We will communicate with you as soon as they do. But if you haven't heard from us, that just means it hasn't opened up yet.
Got it. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, that clarity there is really helpful, because I know everyone's itching. They want to make sure they don't miss the boat on filing and get the application in soon, because we know there's going to be a wave coming through. So that's unemployment. What about the PPP? What's up with that currently?
So the PPP, and we've talked a lot about it, and I apologize for all the emails. Things continue to evolve and change with that program even after they implemented it. So the PPP has opened up. The banks have started taking applications for the PPP either Friday or today. A lot of them weren't ready, and they weren't starting till today. Our understanding, too, is that they've already gotten a ton of applications, and they're most likely going to have to expand that program to be able to handle the demand. So I wouldn't be overly concerned if you hear things about it being oversubscribed. Their government, I can't imagine that they're going to have to make sure everyone gets it that deserves it. So we've talked a lot about it. The PPP is really set up for businesses. It helps you defray payroll costs, benefits costs, and then potentially rent or mortgage on your office space. So if you're an individual who just works for yourself and you don't have any employees or any assistants, whether they be 1099 or W-2, I don't think the PPP really makes sense for you. I think you're going to get more money off of unemployment. And then there's a second program that we'll talk about in a minute. If you do have a staff, though, I do think that the PPP could make more sense for you. We've sent out all the application material. The best place to go is through your own bank. If you have a banking relationship, that's where you're going to get the quickest response. If you don't have a banking relationship, you can submit through stimulus@properties.com, and we will submit it in through our contacts at CIBC.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. One thing that I wanted to really make sure of, though, is there were some questions in regards to the PPP, and if I am an S Corp or an LLC, and that's how I file, but it's just me as an independent agent, there were some questions as to whether or not the PPP makes more sense for me because of how I file my taxes as an S Corp versus going for unemployment. So can you just give some clarification or thoughts on that?
You know, again, the programs continue to evolve, and we are not experts, and I don't think anyone is yet, as to how it's all going to fall out. But our general reaction to that is that it still makes sense to file for unemployment. You should be able to largely maximize your unemployment benefit depending on your earnings. And if you do the calculations, it really feels like you're going to get more money off of unemployment, because you can be on unemployment from April 1st to the end of July versus filing for the PPP loan, because you have to spend that money. If you get the PPP loan, you get basically 2.5 times your earnings. So if it's just you, and let's say you make over $100,000 a year, you're going to get about $20,000 maximum on the PPP loan. But you have to spend that money over an 8-week period of time. So you can, which is basically you're paying yourself your wages over an 8-week period of time, which means you're only going to actually be able to get about 15,000 of it to be forgivable, maybe a little more if you have some benefits thrown in there. But you're going to be able to collect more on unemployment. And then there's a second program that the SBA offers. It's called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, which some of you have heard about. We are waiting on some guidance on the unemployment side to make sure that there's no conflict. But we do believe that you'll be able to file for that as well, where you can get a up to $10,000 fully forgivable loan for use of to pay your expenses. And it covers kind of all your expenses pretty much, your business expenses. And that, coupled with unemployment, as long as you can get both, and again, we're waiting on guidance to ensure that you can get both. That's why we haven't recommended people to go and do this yet. But if you can get both, you'll get far more money from that than you will through the PPP program.
That's great. Thank you. And I think as these updates continue to roll, Mike, we're going to put everything you're sending out into the intranet. So check under the COVID-19 tab. There's a section there called M&T Announcements, where there are emails currently in there. We're going to make sure that's updated every time we have new information. So if you do have questions, that would be the first place to go. So I want to switch gears a little bit, because this is another hot topic that's come up, especially with April 1st being last week, is in regards to tenants and rentals and landlords. And so we've heard a lot of buzz. We know that there are rules that the state of Illinois has put in place where there are no showings or real estate events in tenant-occupied properties. So the question we all have is, what conversation are we having with our landlords, during this time, whether their tenants are or aren't paying rent, and whether or not they're listed, whether for rent or to sell, and now this has put a hold on it. What do we say to our landlords? What advice can we give?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, you're on a roll. You sound fabulous. I'm just enjoying watching you talk.
So these new rules are in place for a lot of compassionate reasons. I mean, obviously, tenants are scared too, just like everybody else is right now, and they don't want a bunch of strangers walking through their house or their apartment, whatever they've rented out. So it kind of makes sense that that the government would be saying, hey, we want to limit the amount of contact, and that's one way that we can limit it, because a tenant is not really in control. Where someone who owns, if you own a house and you want to show your house, you're in control. You can make that decision. If you're a tenant, it's almost like we wouldn't be able to make the decision, which really isn't fair given the risk that everyone could be put at. So I think more than anything, everyone needs to be very, very compassionate right now, particularly with the tenants. And then you need to really just talk with your landlords and help them understand that there are programs out there that can help them. There's 2 different types of loans you could have. If you have assuming you have debt on your rental property. Some people may have bought a condo, and then instead of selling it, they may have rented it out and then bought a new home. Those loans are probably more like primary residence loans. And a lot of the national lenders are offering mortgage deferral payments. So you just need to go on the website of your lender and check it out, because some of them have options for deferring your mortgage, or you need to contact your bank. If you bought an investment property and you have sort of more of an investment loan, you have to reach out to your lender. Most lenders right now are at least allowing you to go to interest only on your loan. So if you own a 3-flat or 6-flat and it's on a 30-year or 20-year type amortization, you should be able to go to your lender and ask them at least to allow you to just pay interest only for, some are going 3 months, some are going 6 months, but you can ask for some relief from your lender to at least get your payments limited in case you're having trouble collecting rents from your tenants.
So that's some really good advice. And I think, the big thing is that if you are working with a landlord, it's just kind of, stepping through some of their options, but also making sure that they're really working with an attorney right now for any of the situations that are coming across. As we continue to get more information, we're going to continue to share it. Mike and Thad have done a great job of that. So keep that in mind. But, right now, to Mike's point, it's just kind of being compassionate and helping everybody through their individual situations. So I wanted to shift gears because we haven't really heard from Thad very much today yet, but wanted just to talk a little bit about, we're in our third week. I know that you and Mike have had some really great stories from agents just about how I think they're really, taking charge and really sort of leading in this environment right now with a lot of their clients. And, just want to talk about what agents are supposed to be doing right now and what you're seeing, since we've been shelter in place for the last 2.5 weeks from our team.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we've never seen as much engagement from agents. I suppose it takes a crisis to get that at any time to start up everyone's engine, but we've never seen more posting. We've never seen more client communication. We've never seen more action. So it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see the engagement. Personally, in the long term, I was having a long conversation with a friend of mine who's actually a professor yesterday, and I'm a big believer that what we're learning while we're at home is that materialist things really don't mean anything. A sweater, a pair of shoes, a watch. People are realizing that this stuff is like not that important anymore. But what is important is your home, your kitchen, your bedroom, your bathroom, etc. So I'm a big believer that all the cost savings that are going to go through materialism, travel, sporting events, etc., are going to be kind of driven towards the home, and we're going to have a long renaissance of people really looking to upgrade their home and invest in their home. So I couldn't believe in that long-term view more strongly. So because of that, what are we doing today to prepare ourselves? Because I had about 50 conversations with agents this week, and I actually met one for coffee, and we sat 6 feet apart. And a lot of people said to me, like, they felt like there was a red light, that there was nothing to do. And so I will be honest with you, having that conversation a number of times is frustrating. But, my universal statement to them was, red lights eventually turn green. And so, like, when it turns green, are you prepared? What have you done? So I am happy with what a lot of people have done so far in the last week. Like, simple things you can do. All of your buyers in the queue, you can, take their search from the MLS, put it on Zenlist, send them the link to Zenlist, explain that they now have access to the PLN. We're now seeing more listings in the PLN than ever. I've talked with a number of agents that are sitting on a ton of listings. I said, what is the benefit of just sitting on them doing nothing? There is some risk to that too. When you don't have them, a listing agreement executed, there is some risk that the seller will go with somebody else. We've seen that happen before. So you eliminate a lot of risk when you execute the listing agreement, put it in the PLN, so you start answering questions, you start getting some demand, and you're now a part of the action. So there's so many things that people can do. As far as the content, that, love is the unity, it puts the unity in our community. That video was shared tremendously by agents, their clients, and on social media. So I think agents are really aware. They are concerned about their finances, but the majority of them are realizing their actions today will create the closings tomorrow. And so I think people are actually doing a really good job of getting out there.
That's great. Thanks, Thad. I think as we continue to hear more success stories too, we'll be able to share those. So please send those in, because I know I've heard, Amy has heard, Mike and Thad have both heard stories of people generating business now just through simple outreach. So one of the things we do want to stress are using those tools, right, Thad? So in terms of putting your listings, instead of letting them sit in the middle of nowhere, putting it into the agent app, and then making sure you're also putting your buyers into the agent app. So if right now isn't the time for them to go active, at least you're building up this pent-up demand that's gonna flush out at some point, instead of sitting back and doing nothing. So thank you both for your advice. Anything else either of you would like to add?
One thing, this is like anecdotal from 20 years ago. If any client or friend ever calls you and says, what are you up to? The answer is working. People, especially your clients and people that are looking to you for be a real estate professional, they don't want to hear that you're doing something else. They want to hear you're working. They want to hear things are happening. Agent Icon, that's another one that we had a huge spike in agents using for under contracts, closing, announcing success. All consumers right now, they have questions, and they want you to provide the solution. So get out there and start providing the solutions and show them that the market has been hit. There's less going on, obviously, but there is a market. Amy, you were talking about 22 closings or pendings in New Trier last week. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening out there, but you are required to make it happen. The days of the business coming to you and there being abundance, enough Zillow leads for everyone, those are over. You have to reap what you sow. So dig deep right now, do some time blocking, whether it's Zenlist introductions, whether it's Agent Icon, whether it's using Content Hub to spread content, whether it's communicating with clients via text over information you learn over Facebook, whatever it is, get ready, because when this stops, there will be a stagnation because of the economy. But I'm a big believer that housing is going to be a big focus. The millennials introducing into the market and buying will push everything upward, and we're going to have a great few years, 3, 4, 5 years of a strong run.
Yeah, just everything we hear too. I mean, we've gotten, like as Thad said, we both talked to a ton of you out there, and we've heard about so much pent up demand, so many listings that are not out there that are in the pipeline right now. I think that once this thing breaks, we're going to see a lot of pent up listings hitting the market, and then a lot of pent up demand. So you want to make sure that you are prepared. I talked to one agent. He had 7 listings that he had not listed yet, that he was holding because the clients didn't want to put them on the market or weren't ready to put them on the market. But you got to start networking. I mean, look at the market share that properties has. We are the market in Chicago, and we are the market in Michigan and in Indiana and Wisconsin, and the markets that we're in. So utilize that network. Start networking the things that you're going to have, and make sure people know about them, because when everything opens back up, you're going to want to be able to jump on them. The further ahead you are, the further ahead you'll be once things get rolling.
And all those sellers that are, have committed to agents from other companies, they're holding on to these listings. The agent thinks they have them. Those sellers are online. They're on social media. When they watch you post answers and success and business and the fact that you are working and operating, and they haven't heard from their agent in 2 weeks because that agent is sitting at the red light, they're going to think in their mind, well, what if I go with Thad? I mean, Thad's doing all this stuff. I know, Amy is my sister, but, we don't want to be with a company that is not a lot of market share. We want to be with a company that's actually producing quality marketing. Those days where, we kind of had them back for a bit, where people were listing with their paddle partner. They now are going to want to list with a true professional, a large company with big market share, fabulous marketing. So start promoting your Real Vision or your VHT or whatever it is, that the tools that you use as differentiators. Post them on social media once in a while. Let people read about them. Be the agent that the person who's thinking about listing with an agent at another company, be that agent that they call, and you get on a Zoom with them and you talk with them and convince them about listing with you. There's a lot of business out there that's on the sideline that hasn't been committed. When it hasn't been committed, when the listing agreement hasn't been signed, that business is available for anybody to get. I want it. I want it. So the best business is business that you weren't going to get, that you found, and then you got. Everything else is expected. So go get it.
That's great. Thanks, guys. One of the things I want to stress too before we wrap up is training. We're doing a ton of online training through Zoom right now. And so during this period, it's also a great time to learn, because if you're not using the tools that we know are really necessary to differentiate yourself, now's the time to learn. So we have classes on the Agent app. We have a Zenlist webinar on Wednesday. We have social media classes that I know are selling out, but they've scheduled more. So keep an eye on the Agent app and the training calendar, because now's the time to master the tools maybe you didn't feel like you had time before, and you'll come out as a master with those tools to differentiate yourself. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike, Thad, Amy.
Thanks for having us.
Good to see you for coffee as always.
Good to see you
Good
guys.
to see everybody.
All right, see you guys later.
Have a great day.